complications. Let's see here. Let me get out of this. What we're talking about today.
Hey, look at that. There we go.
There we go. Okay. What we're going to talk about in this episode is...
Yeah, you got to hit the mute there, guy.
Yeah, basically what we're talking about in this episode is the shipping problems that we've been having. And there's a lot of talks on a lot of different other podcasts and everything.
Podcasts.
Is that the correct word?
Podcasts?
Yeah. I'm going to fix that camera real quick.
No, we'll just move it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine. You know what? We've had enough difficulties right now.
I got it.
Okay.
There we go.
It's going to bug me. There we go. And I can see it. There we go. We are live, and we are finally on the right page. Anyways, a lot of our problems are, it's stemming to the COVID stuff, and it's a lot of stemming to stuff that we're supposed to get from China and everything, and it's more or less a world thing. It's because of all the stuff that we've been having.
Yeah, so this pandemic plays a big part into it. I think a lot of it is economic and social engineering. I know that those are big phrases there. So let me try to explain myself. The current administration is not going to accept responsibility for anything. So let's just pretend that for a minute that we live in a world where adults accept for the responsibilities for their actions, especially ones that are voted into office. So and I don't want to come across as sounding like a Trumper, but it's one of those situations where it's like economically we were doing great under Trump. And then as soon as Biden comes into office, anything that's got Trump's name attached to it, he's signing executive orders, undoing it. So basically just kind of like trying to erase the last, the 4 years that we had under Trump where we were doing well economically. I mean, we really were.
Yeah.
But the Democrats, they never let a good they never let a good crisis go to waste. And so, with every Omicron, Megatron, Voltron, Cybertron,
Flucron now.
Flucron. Whatever the new variants are going to be called. The next time I think the next one is going to be called like the DC Extended Universe or something like that. It's just it's a train wreck, dude.
What's really fucked up?
Well,
now we finally have a flu.
Well, true, but and I'm going to retract my DECU, and the reason why is because at least with the DECU, they reboot things to try to screw it up even more. Whereas the Democrat Party, they come out with these new variants along with the World Health Organization and the CDC to compound what we're already facing.
Yeah.
But with all these shipping, with all these container ships that are out in off the coast, they're out in they're like the Gulf of Mexico.
Even in the Pacific too.
Well, yeah, I said off the coast.
Okay.
So
yeah.
It doesn't help because California, they got the Port of Los Angeles, the Port of San Diego. They're looking, and you've got all these unions in these Democrat-run states, California and New York mostly, right, where everything's coming in. And the union workers aren't at work in these ports because they're not either fully vaccinated or they're coming down with COVID, what it's doing is it's causing shortages across the country, and a lot of it is because we've found ourselves uniquely vulnerable, not from a military standpoint, but more from an economical standpoint. And yeah, we're getting a lot of our stuff from China. We're getting some of our stuff from Japan. We're getting from Taiwan, places like that, where these container ships are just kind of sitting in a holding pattern off the coast for weeks and months at a time, and it's not pushing anything through. It's not, they want to sit there and talk about all these jobs that they're creating. It's like, well, where are these jobs at? Are they private sector or are they public sector? Because if they're public sector, well, then that makes sense because the Democrats are just trying to grow the government. And the problem with that is if you grow the government, you're going to have so much bureaucracy that there's nobody working in the private sector. And if nobody's working in the private sector, then the public sector's got nothing to do.
Yeah, and Maria's also saying, don't forget the Long Beach.
Long Beach, major port. Yeah. So, and when I say San Diego and Long Beach, they're right next to each other. I know because fun fact about me, not one that I'm proud of. I was born in San Diego, and it was just because my dad was in the Navy at the time, and he couldn't get leave approved in time to get my mother back to Texas so I could be born here. But all that aside, I don't claim California as my home state because, it's California. Seriously. They're trying to turn that state, but they're being, they're blocked at every turn. So
yeah.
But the problem, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
No.
But the problem with these ships sitting off the coast, with the problem with these union workers in these ports not coming to work or refusing to move containers off of the ships to where they can be distributed to long haul drivers or train, is that it's creating nationwide shortages in everything. Cost of food's going up. A lot of fast food places. They're running out of things like large cups, wrappers for the food, and cleaning supplies, and it just runs the gambit of everything that you would think that you need to run a business of one form, shape, or another. And they're not getting the things that they need to replenish themselves, and we're being choked off at the ports. And the Democrats are completely and totally behind it because they're using the and I'm going to call it the plandemic until the day that it goes away or the day that they put me in the ground, because it with something that has a 99 point something % survivability rate.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, these people are dying from it, but they also have got contributing factors like other comorbidities. And then they keep wanting to push these vaccines and these boosters. Well, Pfizer already came out and said, well, yeah, we screwed up on that first one.
Yeah, that's what it got squashed so fucking fast.
It did. It got squashed really quick. And what did they replace it in the news with? Pete Davidson is being looked at to host the Oscars. Who cares?
Nobody even, dude. They canceled the Golden Globes. They canceled the Country Music Awards.
Mm-hmm.
All awards right now are getting smashed.
And not that I care, because I'm not one of those people that sat down and actually watched an awards ceremony, or awards show. Unless I'm there, nominated for an award, or if I'm there to accept like a lifetime achievement award for whatever. Yeah. I don't really care, because it doesn't affect my day to day. It doesn't affect me. I don't look at these people and say, "Oh, well, this is the person that I want to be when I grow up." Because a lot of times the people like the movie industry, the music industry as a whole, and I'm talking from country music to hip hop to classical to whatever, it does not matter.
You watched that Mike Rowe on Timcast?
The what?
Mike Rowe was on Timcast, and
no,
he's saying basically what you're saying. But he always says that.
I love Mike Rowe. I listened to his The Way I Heard It. I watched the new season of Dirty Jobs. I've seen 6 Degrees. I love the guy as a voiceover, and he's staunchly conservative. He's conservative in a lot of ways. He's libertarian in a lot of others. He's liberal in none. Yeah. So, and he believes in the trade.
Yeah,
and I love the fact that he's got those little like slogans like "Safety Third." And no, like seriously, It's like "Safety Third" because people put so much emphasis on safety that they ruin their productivity and they ruin like the way that a job actually gets done.
Yeah. So Maria's saying right now that that's our super fan. If people are watching later on, she chimes in, so maybe you should too next time we go live. But the cost of containers have gone up by tens of thousands.
Yeah.
And another thing that we aren't really talking about either is the quality of this. I wouldn't buy anything that came out here recently, only because the people that they're getting to work with them right now, the actual stuff is just crap.
Right,
There's
it
going to be
is.
a lot of freaking shit stuff that come out.
Yeah, there is, and I mean, and
it's not those people-
she's right with the space on these ships going up,
Yeah.
and it's costing more to ship everything. A lot of that goes towards the price of fuel, and a lot of that is because a lot of these container ships, when they come into these ports, they get refueled with the oil or with the petroleum product that is supplied by that port. Now, during Trump's administration, we were dependent upon our domestic oil, and the price of oil was. I mean, it was affordable. I mean, we were at what? It was like
The lowest I've seen it was 125.
yeah, $1.25 a gallon.
Yeah.
And now in a lot of places you're starting to see that $3 and $4 mark. And these are in red states where it's $3 and $4 a gallon. And I'm like down in Dallas, it's like 318, 347, something like that, depending on what side of DFW you're going
Yeah.
to. Down in Houston, the Houston, Lake Jackson, Angleton area, where obviously I go a lot now. It's I think for 1 gallon of regular unleaded, just your run of the mill 86 or 87 octane, it was down to 247, and then it jumped up to 257, and then the last time I was down there it was like 268 a gallon. So but up here I'm noticing it's like that there's a 30 cent a gallon difference, or 20 to 30
That's
cents
because
a
we're
gallon.
close to Oklahoma. For some reason, the border between Oklahoma and Texas, Wichita Falls, that we're in, it gets a little bit lower. That we have people that try to get.
Yeah, and she's saying diesel fuel was $1.78 last year when she started hauling in Tyler, and now she averages $3.30. And I do notice that because where I work still, we drive diesel trucks, and it doesn't help that the King Ranch 250 that we drive gets incredibly horrible gas mileage because we're hauling a trailer that's full. So I mean we're getting
And
like
they're
8-9 miles
and
to
they're
the gallon.
talking about like 6 cents tax on fuel.
Yeah, and she said her fuel cost jumped 42%. And then something else too I've noticed is that, and a buddy of mine by the name of William, he noticed something. It's kind of a trend that before gas prices started really spiking, we were getting really great gas mileage per gallon, and ever since the spike and the prices went up, gas mileage has gone down. So there's something different about the fuel that we're physically putting into our vehicles that's causing it to not burn as efficiently. So
That could be. It could be not being able to get the right chemicals that you need to get.
and
into the
that's
gasoline.
possible there too.
Yeah.
But
And that's just
yeah,
theory and an opinion. I don't want to.
It's a whole myriad of things. In you can always sound intelligent if you use two different words. One is plethora, and the other one is it's a phrase. It's variable cornucopia. So I mean, we've got a plethora of problems. See, there it is. It's like that's our photosynthesis moment, right?
I know.
So I mean, we're running into it. Most of it is going to be because of this pandemic with the COVID stuff, and then we've got Biden coming into office and immediately shutting down the Keystone Pipeline, which killed our domestic oil prices and supply. And what is it, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, he released 38 million gallons from our strategic reserve. And it's like, oh, well, maybe that, and to me, when I saw that news, when I saw that headline, I was like, I prayed
That his administration.
that his administration was finally starting to pull their head out of their ass just long enough to take that breath of fresh air before they sucked it back up in there.
Because he's not. He's not running. That
Oh,
place.
he's not calling the shots. I mean, he's being told what to say, and they're just hoping that his dementia holds off long enough to where he can read what they're feeding him on the teleprompter. Yeah, fuel is shifty, and it's mostly being winterized, which affects mileage. This is causing more DFE usage, which is the diesel, like the DEF Blue stuff, where
Yeah.
it basically eliminates the soot from our exhaust, if I'm not mistaken. It's used to clean the fuel, and the DEF is hard to find anymore nowadays. It is.
What is DEF?
It's what it does is it's an additive that we add. So like any new truck, any new diesel truck, I think it's from like 2010 on up. You've got when you open up your fuel door on your fuel, it's a green
okay,
cap,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
you've got
yeah.
that small blue cap, and you take that small blue cap off, and it's like an inch wide, hole that you pour that DEF into, and what that does is it helps clean the fuel and it helps eliminate a lot of that soot.
Oh, diesel exhaust fluid.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, but a lot of it, and I think a lot of it is to kind of pull people away from the rural areas and kind of get it. Sorry about that. Pull everybody away from the rural areas and get everybody more urban centralized, because that is one of the keystone factors to get socialism to work. If you get everybody centralized in urban areas, it's a lot easier to distribute government programs and get more people dependent upon those government programs. So that way, they're not going out to grow their food. They're not going out to incentivize or innovate and to create a free market atmosphere. I mean, the government can basically come in and say, we can do A, B, and C, but only if you're doing D, E, and F. And that's requiring us to go in and live closer to these big cities and not really rely so much on ourselves or small businesses, because they're trying to squeeze a lot of small businesses out. And to an extent, even a lot of these large corporations, that support blindly the Democrat Party. We're talking about like Walmart, specifically. They go out and they say, oh, well, we're all for our workers, and they offer these gain share programs, where you can buy stock in the company and crap like that. But they release a lot of their workforce, and they put in these self-checkout things, and they're still raising the price, because the whole point of releasing, of letting go some of your workforce is so that you can bring your prices down, right? Mm-hmm. You go to Walmart, and you're going to spend more at Walmart than you would do at maybe some of these smaller mom and pops. Like if you go to Aldi's, yeah, I mean you're getting brands that you're not necessarily recognizing, but the quality is still there, but you're paying a lower price because of the way that they, the Aldi's business model works. But you go into Walmart, multi-million-dollar stores every month. I mean, about per week. Yeah, she goes, many haulers delete trucks for this reason, but if they get caught, it's $2,000 fine, and they can confiscate your truck in California if the truck was made to run DEF. So by what she's talking about is deleting, is where they cut out part of the exhaust, or they cut out that DEF, right? And it doesn't necessarily make the trucks run any better or anything like that. It makes them louder. I know that for sure. But I do know that in the state of Texas, you can't legally sell a deleted exhaust diesel vehicle. It's illegal. So what they'll do is they'll either transfer it to a dealership in Louisiana, and Louisiana will in turn sell it to somebody in Mexico, because they don't have those EPA standards in Mexico, right? So, I mean, on top of the fines, you're looking at, I mean, you're looking at fines, you're looking at losing your vehicle, and on top of that, you can't resell it. You can't. You can't go to a dealership and say, I'm going to sell you this truck outright so I can use it as a trade.
That's so weird.
Well, and again, it's a Texas law. I know at least in Texas, and it may be a nationwide thing. I'm not entirely sure, but and Maria may be able to speak, more to that. But it's I mean, you have to have the complete exhaust in there, and that includes the DEF system. But if you look at the way socialism normally runs, or communism runs, right? I mean, all of your government assistance centers are located in urban areas.
Yeah.
Okay, and
because most of the people that actually that are outside those urban areas,
yeah,
a lot of people call them crazy preppers, but they're not crazy preppers. They just live off the land. I mean, this week on Thursday, if I had my rifle with me, I would have probably gotten like 13 does.
Right.
In one sitting.
Yeah.
They were huddled together and everything.
But that's bad, because we need to make sure that we're maintaining the population.
Oh, I would have maintained it. They were even on like the church parking lot eating the grass on there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but going off of the other stuff that I was talking about how our quality of stuff is going to be really, really bad right now, and it's not the company's fault, really, more or less. But what it is basically you're going to have new people come in that don't know what they're doing in the first place, and they're still learning the job. That's the problem that we're going to have here. I mean, look at me right now. I had to switch jobs only because my job hasn't opened up yet.
Yeah.
Up at work, and basically, I'm learning a new trade. I'm learning how to put doors and windows in, and
Yeah.
it's frustrating a little bit with my coworker because there's a lot of stuff that's easier for him, and I don't think he gets that I've never done this in like a real long, because he keeps on bringing it up. It's like, well, you learned that in elementary school. I'm like, I hate to tell you this right now, but that was probably about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's when I get, and a lot of people say, well, that's just a conspiracy theory thing. I mean, look, my tin hat is still sitting up here, so just fuck off, right? So, what we're looking at is, yeah, she said bigger issues that inexperienced new drivers from other countries. So, they're coming in here. They're not licensed to drive over the road a lot of times, and if they are, it's like they go to the Swift School of Truck Driving. And anybody who pays attention to any kind of trucking websites or any kind of trucking pages on website knows that if you see somebody hauling a Swift trailer down the road, get as far away from them as possible.
oh, really?
Yeah, because Swift drivers, they don't.
Oh, okay.
It's
Swift to get them in, swift to get them out.
it's Swift to put it in a ditch or in a wall, yeah, or across your hood.
I hope they never get our sponsorship from us. Try to get sponsors for us.
Hey,
so
look,
we
if
come
Swift
back.
comes to us, we're just going to kind of look at them and give them the angry salute. There you go.
Booyah!
All right. So, but it's. I mean, if in like from a nerd's perspective, the movie Dread, right? The one with Carl Urban.
Yeah.
Okay. You noticed how there was no country. Everything was.
Yeah, it was in,
it was dystopian, and it was. You had.
And get more.
Population, you had entire cities living in a building.
And in what he's talking about, Dredd, the movie with Kurt Owens, there's also our narrative version, Judge Dredd. Judge Dredd was actually the original comic book that came from UK.
Yeah.
And it basically, there's a lot, there was another one, Priest, I think it was. With the vampires, it was the same. It was the same design, different story type deal.
The movie I think you're talking about is the one that had Christian Bale in it, and anytime anybody showed any kind of emotion, they had to be executed.
No, that was Equilibrium.
Was that Equilibrium? Yeah, that was Equilibrium, but it's the same dystopian type.
The one I'm thinking about is the guy that played the Vision was in it, and
you mean Paul Bettany?
Yeah, Paul Bettany. And funny thing, Kurt Urban was the villain in that one.
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban. I'm horrible.
Carl Urban. Carl Urban also plays Billy Butcher in The Boys, which season 3 is fixing to come out. Thank you. But
it's in July.
Yeah, I know. But so getting back to my point is that you've got all these communities and you've got almost entire cities living in a single high-rise building, and the reason for that was because all of their services were located in those buildings.
You know what's really strange though? Is California probably won't even get that far. Only because they do a lot of mandates that prevent. Reason why housing cost and all that living space and everything so expensive is, I went down this rabbit hole, is they don't want towers. They don't want like skyscrapers that people can come in and live. They want houses. And what it is there was an instance that they were trying to build one, and I think, it started with B. I can't remember. Moving on, but they were trying to get like an apartment complex built up, but they didn't build up the apartment complex. They ended up canceling it and basically making a housing district over a place where only like 4 houses could be. Like close-up houses.
But still, the point is to socially engineer society to the point where they have no choice but to go to these urban areas and it's going to create noise pollution, air pollution. It's going to create overpopulation.
Yeah,
Your-
'cause
your
you have a
crime
lot of-
rates are going to go through the roof, and then
Because it's a concentration of people, and the concentration of that was most of the cities have like smog. Most of those cities have higher crime rates. I mean, you got Chicago, you got New York. I mean, it's both those right now. I mean, L.A. and San Francisco; those are big major cities. Dallas, in a way, right now. Fort Worth is bad, but not that bad. Austin is another one that's really horrible.
and there's areas of Houston that you want to avoid too, especially after dark. But
Yeah.
the point of it is that that's I think ultimately that's the end goal, is to grow the government to the point where it is all encompassing. It creates that cradle to grave, womb to tomb mentality. And Ronald Reagan said that the most scariest words in the English language are "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." And we need to get away from that, because we were founded on a lot of conservative values, and a lot of that was a small but limited government. And they even argued that in the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers. Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson, they wrote those, and it was that was the debate for and against the framing of the Constitution as we know it today. And there was a quote, and it said, if men were of angels, and I'm paraphrasing here, but if men were of angels, then there would be no need for law, because men would not need to be governed. But because men are flawed creations of God, we need law. We need a government, albeit a small but limited government. And that was the winning argument. That was the prevailing thought process at the time, whenever the Constitution was being framed out for our founding as a country, which is one of the biggest reasons why we have lasted as long as we have. Because anytime you've tried to introduce any kind of constitutional republic, it hasn't lasted, because people with the mindset that the government needs to handle all of your day-to-day needs, they go in there and they infiltrate and they stay. And it's like we used to have term limits in Congress. And it used to be to where it was the people didn't vote for the representatives. The representatives were chosen by that state's legislature, and you were sent for 2 terms. And then once you were done after your second term, you retired from public life, and you went back to you went back home, and you went to your farm, you went to your pharmacy, or whatever it was that you did prior to entering politics or public life. And you went back, and somebody new went in there. But now we've got these career politicians that have never held a regular job a day in their life, and they're trying to rewrite laws or stick these little caveats in there that allow them to stay in there and make money off of it. I firmly believe that once you leave Congress, once you leave Congress, your paycheck stops. Your paycheck should stop, and I believe that should even be the case for the president. Because you're not contributing to some kind of like government retirement fund. No. I mean, we've got men and women who serve in the military that that they pay in. If they want a retirement plan, they have to go outside and do it. Yeah, you get a retirement pension from the military, but it's not. I mean, dude, it's chicken scratch.
And that if you do something really messed up, they can take away your pension. I've actually seen people.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys that are sitting there, men and women both, that are sitting there. They do 19 years, and then all of a sudden, they step outside the line, and as part of their punishment, they get their entire pension taken away.
It's like that major that just went up against the Marine Corps, and how much scrutiny he's getting right now because he believes, and to this day I'm with him, is how much of a shit show that the Afghanistan removal was.
Yeah.
And everybody's saying, everybody in their right mind is saying, what the fuck would you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just he was the one guy with enough pull, and he had enough rank on his collar. He stepped out of line. I mean, I'm not saying he stepped out of line. I mean, he fell out of rank and said, "Hey, look, this is what's going on."
Yeah.
And it cost the lives of 13 men and women. And those lives did not need to be extinguished. And they basically died for nothing.
Yeah.
Because they died because a presidential administration was out there running the party line. And that's all it was. It was a party line move. And it's just like with Vietnam. We won every major battle, but we ended up losing that war because politicians got involved and they started writing, doctrine.
Yeah.
And the press didn't help. The press didn't help in World War II. The press didn't help in Korea, Vietnam, and it sure as hell didn't help us out in the Middle East. There was an admiral during World War II. He was asked, "What's your thoughts on the press reporting on the war?" And he goes, "What the press? What about them? Tell them that there was a war after we already won it." And I'm down for that. I really am. I mean, I really, really am. We live in an age now where almost every swinging Tom, Dick, and Harry and Sally are out there with a GoPro mounted either to their helmet or to their weapon system. And we can get footage from that because we have sites like Funker 360, so we need to start learning how to separate things. Well, not necessarily learn. We need to relearn how to separate things, like separate the military from Congress, separate the president from Congress, because there are those checks and balances there for a reason. We call them three branches of government. You've got your judicial, your legislative, and your executive for a reason. It was framed that way in the Constitution. I firmly believe that the framers of our nation, the founders of our nations, our founding fathers, were certifiable geniuses. Because they understood and they built something, an organic charter, so to speak, that was able to be, that was capable of evolution. And and then this unbiased thing, the media started turning against the war in Vietnam because of Walter Cronkite.
Yeah.
He was outside the Battle of Hue with, I think it was the 1st Marine Division. I could be wrong on that. There was a medic attending, there was a corpsman attending to a young Marine that was dying. He was in his shot. He didn't even bother to change his shot. I mean, this kid dying on national TV. And, I mean, he goes on to say something about how, the 1st Marine Division is, valiantly fighting this battle. I think ultimately the United States is destined to lose this war in South Vietnam. And that started to sway public opinion, and it ultimately started to sway the opinion of Congress. And you had your radicals, you had your anti-war protesters. George Bush Sr. used to be the
Director of CIA.
No, he used to be the American envoy to the United Nations.
Oh, okay.
And you had all these. He was scheduled to speak about Vietnam and the United States policy in Southeast Asia to the General Assembly. So you had all these anti-war protesters picketing it outside. Nobody was paying attention to them. They just walked through the crowd.
Oh, are you talking about the one where they protest? Okay,
yeah. Okay. So a gentleman by the name of Saul Alinsky comes up, and I got this story from Mark Levin. Mark Levin is an intelligent man. He worked for the Department of Justice during the Reagan administration. He heads up a legal foundation called Landmark Foundation. He's a syndicated radio show host. He's got several books out there. But he talks about Saul Alinsky, who wrote a book called Rules for Radicals. Okay? I'm not saying go out and buy this book because I don't want to give this guy's estate a penny of my money. You can find bootleg versions or excerpts of it out there on the internet somewhere. But he went up to these protesters, these anti-war protesters, and said, "Hey, look, you guys are out here just kind of wasting your time. You really want to have an impact? You really want to make change?" And they were like, "Well, yeah." So he told them, "Go out, find yourself some Klan costumes, and dress up as Klansmen, and get into the Galleria, the gallery, or the area of seating above the main floor."
Yeah.
And every time George Bush stands up and says anything about Vietnam, stand up and cheer. Because everybody will start directing their attention to you, and they're going to see white supremacists, what they're going to view as white supremacists cheering about the war in Vietnam.
Yeah, that was
and that affected more change on the international stage against the war in Vietnam than anything else period.
Yeah, it was
Because for the most part, the international community was looking at what was going on here in America, Kent University, Woodstock, all these anti-war protests and everything like that. And they were laughing at us because they were looking at it like, oh, you got a bunch of beatniks and hippies out here that are just out here smoking dope and they don't have any jobs. They're just out here raising hell. And
it's basically propaganda at its best.
yeah, I mean, all he did was he changed the way that their protest was being viewed. So it's not necessarily that he changed their mission. He changed the way that they went about delivering their statements.
Yeah, I read that article, and it's just so fucked off.
And so as soon as that speech was over, I mean, he went from getting rounds of applause to now he was getting booed. Off of the podium. And so once his speech was done, I mean, it went from being a complete success in trying to articulate what the policy was for America in Vietnam to a rounding defeat.
Yeah.
And we started to see, and I tell you this all the time, and I've said it on our show a few times, that Winston Churchill said that those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And you saw that live. You saw images of Chinook helicopters landing on the roof of the American embassy in Saigon, lifting out refugees and American personnel, and you saw the same damn picture happening in downtown Kabul.
Yeah, exactly.
And you saw, instead of people jumping onto boats and helicopters trying to get out of the country, you saw people jumping onto a C-40 or a C-17 trying to lift off of the runway. And you had people that were getting trapped in the landing gear wells. You had people falling off of the plane and becoming the inaugural members of the Kabul Skydiving Club.
Yeah.
And it was history repeating itself because the people that are in charge of our government right now are the same knuckleheads that sat there and bathed in mud and shit in the fields of Woodstock as a form of protest, and instead somebody came along and told them, why don't you just go get yourself an education and get involved with politics. So they infiltrated academia, so they're indoctrinating our kids they're indoctrinating the youth of the country, and have been for the last 2-3 generations, and they've implanted themselves and cemented their place in American politics.
Yeah.
And they're trying to take their ideology and they're trying to institutionalize it. And all it is, I mean, Ronald Reagan also said that, I think it was an interview that he gave with Johnny Carson. He said that that socialism will make its way back into America under the guise of a different name, whether it's progressivism, liberalism, or statism. I think statism, I don't know if statism was part of that, but he nailed it on the head. I mean, you just take one ism and replace it with another, and it's the same thing. It's still a wolf in sheep's clothing. And people look at it like, oh, well, it's so much more humane to be this way. Well, no, it's not. I mean, and then they're being given these like carrots being dangled out in front of them like a mule on a cart. And it's like, well, if I work extra hard, I can get that carrot and it's going to be given to me for free. Nothing is ever free because that free carrot's costing somebody else something, that they value. Like our private property is a direct representation of our time and labor. If you come in here and you bust your ass all year and you get an A in class, and then Susie J. Rottencrotch over here in the back of the classroom, she doesn't show up for half the year, and she screws off and she gets an F, and the teacher decides that she's going to be compassionate and take your A, split it in half, and give you both a C. That's going to piss you off, right? And
Yeah.
and that's not helping Susie out.
Well, they did that study. That professor did a study of in the class. Mm-hmm. And I'll get on this boat and I'll do something, flip ahead on something else. But he basically gave everybody A's in the class. So the deterioration of the actual people that actually worked their ass off to get that A went down. And I think the base average was D at the end of the semester. And he's like, this is communism. But flipping it on the other side, they're actually... I can't remember the name of the teachers, but there's 2 teachers. They teach history and sociology. But what they're actually teaching is they'll go into the viewpoints of the right and the viewpoints of the left, and they bout it out, and come to find out they're both left.
Right.
But they still want people to know both sides of the story.
Yeah. See, Karl Marx popularized a quote.
God, I hate that man.
From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. And that's basically the redistribution of wealth model right there. There's a guy, it was a German that came up with that, but it was popularized by Karl Marx in his 1875 Critique of the Gothica program. The principle refers to free access into the distribution of goods, capital and services. So, when I used to listen to talk radio all the time, I had a job that I drove all day. I was in a vehicle, like usually a van, delivering for like a FedEx style company, right?
Yeah.
So my day was occupied with Rush Limbaugh, which I loved. Rush Limbaugh, El Rushbaugh, right? Had talent on loan from God. But anyway, so it was Rush Limbaugh, then you had Sean Hannity, and then you had Mark Levin in the evenings, right? Sean Hannity would constantly have people calling in on his shows, and like he would tell his producer, he's like, hey, get me a liberal on the phone. And so they would go into the call queue and they'd find somebody who was identified as a Democrat or a liberal, and he would bring up that, hey, tell me if you agree with this quote. And he would cite that quote, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. And they're like, yeah, no, that sounds amazing. That's great. And he goes, you know who came up with that? You know who popularized or coined that phrase? And they're like, no, it was Karl Marx. And then all of a sudden you start seeing these people that are like, oh my God, and they try to backpedal, and they just end up making themselves look even dumber than they were when they came on the show. Because you get a lot of these people that they don't, how like we're constantly telling people that if you want to debate us on this show, do your homework and come in and have a debate with us. It's not an argument, it's a debate. Because I'm not so open. I'm not so closed-minded that I'm willing to to deflect.
It's more or less that whole thing about prove me wrong.
Yeah, change my mind.
Yeah,
but do it with facts, and you use it with facts that you have verified with more than just one source. Because and I can hear. Yeah, I'm just going to turn this microphone real quick. There we go, and I'm just burning out the ears of our listeners. But come at me with facts and debate the points.
Don't be a freaking keyboard warrior.
Yeah, don't be a keyboard warrior. Don't regurgitate the talking points of the party that you vote for. Yeah. Because I'm willing to change my viewpoint on certain things, and it's like I used to be. Like I used to be okay, and this is going to be all right. I'm not. When I was growing up, okay, I was anti-gay. Okay, like if you were gay, I'm not even going to talk to you. I'm not even going to waste my time. But as I've grown, as I've aged, I've changed my viewpoint to a moderate degree. And it's not like I'm all pro-gay now or anything like that. I mean, I believe in the sanctity of marriage. I really do. But at the same time, I'm also of the mindset that you can hate the sin but love the sinner. And I've adopted that through knowing people that are homosexual in my life, and having become a Christian. I know that it's laid out that is a sin. Now, I'm not going to make a statement or declare a stance on whether or not I think that it's a choice versus something that's genetically, encoded in you, right? Because I don't know enough about that. I don't know enough about the genetic side. I know that for a large part, there are people who get tired of the opposite sex and they decide that they're going to jump the fence and they're going to see how life is on the other side. For those people, yeah, that's a choice. And if they find that they like it, they stay there. If not, they usually end up coming back, but they go back for, like a dessert every once in a while, But I'm not, the point is that my stance on that has changed over the years. I'm never going to go, hey, look, this is the right way versus heterosexuality being wrong. No, because nobody said, there's nothing there. And there's no definitive proof either way that says one is more right than the other. Yes, we've got our moral code that's written in the Bible. But again, we're looking at the lifestyle choice, not the person. We can love that person and not agree with their choices. That doesn't that what that does is that allows us to open up a discord. It allows us to open up a conversation that we can have with people about things that they decide that they want to do with their lives. And it doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make them right versus us or anything like that. It just means that we're individuals. They may be out there trying to experience the everything that it means to be human, quote unquote, but it's not gonna. I mean, do I get to choose where they spend an eternity? No, because it's written in the Bible that the only judge, the one true judge, is God and God Himself. So I mean, that's for them to deal with.
Yeah, I just stopped caring about all that bullshit. The only thing the only thing I actually do care about, and I'll stamp this to the freaking grave. And Ben Shapiro said it best when he was doing a speaking gig at a university, and this lady was like, and I call her lady because she wanted to identify identifying.
I've seen that. I've seen that video clip.
And they keep on. It's like, oh, now we have to have it in the government or anything like that. I was like, and he crushed this woman like that. Snap of fingers, it was crushed. It was like, okay, your age. Would you rather be? Why don't you identify with your age?
And she cited
everything?
science as the reason why you can't identify as another age. But he called her out on her hypocritical, argument, because he's like, well, you're going to apply science to ageism, but you're not going to apply it towards gender. And I'm like, okay. So, and I actually used, it was a while back, somebody was like, oh, I'm non-binary and I'm pansexual. And I'm like, oh, I'm an Apache helicopter. And they're like, what? You can't be in a helicopter. I'm like, why not? I can identify as an Apache helicopter. You can identify as a fuzzy, right? Or a furry or whatever they call them. People that dress up in the mascot uniforms.
Yeah.
But
no.
And they kind of went off on this huge tangent, like you can identify as. I was like, well, but you're changing pronouns all the time. So I mean, all I'm doing is just changing my proper noun.
Yeah.
I'm just taking your argument and I'm taking it one step further,
No.
but that somehow ruffles your feathers.
I've actually gotten in an argument with a person. There's like, I'm non-binary now. I was like, all right, fucker. She is like, no, they or them. I was like, no, fucker, this is what you're getting. That's non-binary right there, fucker. I'm an asshole at doing it.
To me, I don't understand what the hell non-binary means. I mean, when I hear non-binary, I think computer coding ones and zeros.
Exactly.
There's two choices there. You're a one or you're a zero. What's it? I mean,
I
either
know,
you're the pole or you're the hole. What's going on?
I know what they're trying to get at.
Wow,
they don't want to.
That was good.
They don't want to identify as a woman, and they don't want to identify as a man. And I'm just like, okay, but I'm going to use fucker because.
So right now, basically, by not being a man or a woman, you're just taking up space. You're not a part of the problem, nor are you a part of the solution. You're just wasted skin.
Some of those people are actually, good people and everything. They just have like weird cliques.
But I get that. I mean, they're good people. Yeah, but if you're not part of the solution, you're
part of the problem.
Problem. Don't compound people's issues by throwing yourself. Yeah, the polar hole. Yeah. I mean,
I still like fucker Maria.
I mean, you're a pole or you're a hole. I mean, it's, I don't know. It does rhyme.
It does rhyme.
I mean.
But fucker is just, I mean, you can
like me personally, I choose not to take a pole. I don't want a pole in a hole. My pole in a hole, but I won't take a pole on a train. I won't take it on a plane. I won't eat it on a ship. I won't eat it in a box. I won't eat it under a fox.
You just got really.
I got real Susie right there.
You and then you lost me a little bit. I was like,
it's a literary classic, man. Green eggs and ham.
Where is he going? Where is he going with it? And I got lost in the craziness of it.
Like me, I like my holes. I like my holes on a boat. I like my holes on a float. I like my holes in a train. I like my holes in a plane.
This will get Johnny for like another 30 minutes on a rant. Guess what the Democrats are thinking about doing.
Please enlighten us. Share it with the rest of the class.
They're literally thinking about trying to get Hillary Clinton to go on the Democratic side again. For presidency in 2024.
So I was listening to satellite radio. I was listening to Raw Dog Comedy. Mm-hmm. and a person said, in order for you to win the presidency, you have to have a personality. You have to be charming. You have to be charismatic. That is why Hillary Clinton has never been president.
How did fucking Biden? Well, that was
Biden got in by hook.
yeah.
You
Okay,
know.
we have to watch our words on certain things nowadays.
Yes, I know. We're not saying that the election was stolen, but we're not saying that the election wasn't rigged.
Yeah.
Okay. And if they want to come at us after that, fine. You know, whatever. Like this, whatever this you username
Oh,
here
no.
mission's
That's-
deleted.
The reason why I deleted it was one of those
Bots.
bots. Yeah.
I mean, whatever. If we've got somebody in here we got 2 people watching right now, myself and Maria. And that's it. Actually, no, I don't even know if she's in here still. 3 watching. Oh, hey, she's back.
Oh.
She must have gotten a phone call or something. She's like, hey, look, babe, I'm not talking, I'm listening, I'm watching a live show, so can you just maybe get the fuck off the phone so I can get back in here? That's what
Yeah,
it
she's home
is.
now, isn't she?
She is. She's home now, so she's probably out in the garage smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
But, all that aside, yes, she goes, yes, I am.
But
You got a phone call, didn't you? Or you got a text message that caused you to get off your YouTube app because you don't pay for YouTube Red like every other red-blooded American. You just, skip that trial and you'll just pick up later. You do that, don't you?
yeah, she does.
Yeah, she
I know
does.
because she showed me.
I synced it. Yeah. Okay.
I synced it. Also, she was indoctrinated.
Indoctrinated.
Yeah,
Yes.
indoctrinate. I can't. Damn
Say it with
dyslexia.
me. Indoctrinated. Indoctrinated.
Indoctrinated.
There we go.
Into
Look
our
at you. Hey.
in our super secret group.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, you haven't noticed?
Oh, she's in. Wait, did you put her on those those guys?
No,
thread?
super secret group.
Super secret goop. Super secret goop.
Oh, and
I said goop and you didn't even pick up on it. That's
Yeah.
funny. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, no.
Spill it
Okay,
out, Bobby.
so look, it's
It's a group of my basically close people that I care about.
well, no, I've moved past that at least. You might still be stuck there. Anyways,
I'm still.
I'm back on the whole Hillary Clinton thing. I'm going to
Oh,
try
okay.
to keep it as short and as sweet of a rant as humanly possible. When her day of judgment comes, it is going to happen in such a visibly biblical manner. She's going to be made. Yeah, y'all are tame. Yeah, you know what? That is because I don't want the Alphabet Gang banning us from every
No,
platform.
she's talking about the super secret group.
Okay, you know what, and that's just because I'm working and I don't have time to sit there and entertain you with the darkest and dankest of memes. Like there's a pile of ash with a puddle of jizz in it.
Yeah, shoulder.
Yeah, so, I mean, I have not yet begun to show off my Hitler memes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they get pretty dark. So, secret group, it's more like secret goop. And I mean, it's just a sausage fest. And now you've turned it into a bukkake party. Thank you very much, David. I appreciate that.
You're welcome for that, and I didn't think about that. I was just honestly the only reason why I created that group was because I send a bunch of stuff, and I just want to keep it the same people really fast. I know who I'm sending it to. That's what that group is. So,
Okay.
but
anyway,
anyways,
so
the Hillary Clinton.
with Hillary Clinton, see, that's why she has you, because I'm too busy.
We're going off subject. Maria, you're gonna have to stop for a little bit so we can actually.
Yeah, you're going to have to simmer down there. Pump the brakes, Fox and Friends, okay? All right, so Hillary Clinton, if she ever gets elected, and it will never be in a legitimized manner. I mean, the amount of election fraud that we saw in this past presidential cycle will be tame by comparison.
Well, okay. There's another thing that.
Which is why they
'Cause they
are
wanted-
trying to go as hard and heavy as they possibly can to pass any of these voter registration laws
Make it go federal instead
to
of
make
state
it go
law.
federal. And
here's
they're
the-
trying to take it away from the states. And in order to do that, they're going to have to abolish the Electoral College. And in order to do that, they're going to have a constitutional convention. And that needs to be passed by 2/3 of the states.
Yeah. And what's really sad about this whole thing, though, is the basic fact of New York had that thing to where, hey, do you want us to fight for this in the Congress? And New York said no. They voted on a ballot to say, hey, we don't want federal voter registration or any federal voting.
Because it's also written into the Constitution that any laws that are not that are not included in the Constitution are to be handled by the states.
Yeah.
And in order for them to add an amendment making federal nationwide voter registration law, they have to add it as an amendment to the Constitution, and that requires 2/3 of all the states voting in the affirmative to get that done. Then they need to go, and that's just one step. Once they get the affirmative vote from the 2/3, then they need to go to a constitutional convention,
Yeah.
and that requires a supermajority.
Yeah, they all have to agree on it.
Yeah, I mean it's not a unanimous vote, but it's a supermajority, and that's just to get it ratified. Then it goes to the president's desk and gets signed. Okay, so while I'm not a constitutional scholar, I don't even play one on TV. I'm not like Barack Obama, where I played one in the White House.
Yeah, that was another thing. I was gonna-
Federal voter registration will never ever happen, and if it does, it will mark the death of our constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. Let's get that out of the way. The United States of America is not a democracy. It is a constitutional republic.
Yeah. But that was another thing they're talking about is changing up filibuster laws, which they actually have changed up filibuster laws and everything like that.
They have, but now that now that the filibuster laws don't play into the favor of the Democrat Party, they're wanting to change it again so that way they can block any kind of filibusters. But that
Or what they
has
actually-
the possibility of potentially backfiring on them.
And I don't want to say what the senator kept on saying was he implied that they're what they call it is blowing up the Senate. And I don't want anybody to understand. I want everybody to understand. I'm not saying
They're
blowing up
talking
the
about,
Senate, but
for all intents and purposes,
they're talking-
disbanding the Senate.
no, they're talking about filibuster.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're
don't-
making it they're talking about making it filibuster proof.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's already a pathway to making something filibuster proof, and that is having a supermajority in both the House and the Senate.
I think it's down. They got it down to like 60.
It doesn't matter. It's still a majority in both the House and the Senate. And
Yeah.
that's to make something filibuster proof. And even with it being down to 60%, you're still looking at those rogue senators or representatives that will vote vote with the other side of the aisle, depending on what the argument is made and or what kind of pressure that they're receiving from their constituents back home.
Yeah, especially right now, with it being midterms.
Yeah. So I mean,
Because I mean,
and this is why we need term limits, because you get these. You get these career politicians like Nancy Pelosi or Bernie Sanders or the crazy lady that said that she was half Indian. I forget her name. Anyways,
that was the vice president.
no.
Wasn't
No. Kamala Harris. She entered politics on her knees, and she still plays second fiddle, even though she's technically the second lady now.
You're talking about money on a dresser. I got it.
Well, it's more like your endorsement being scribed across her forehead.
Yes.
Yeah.
That too. Well,
Yeah, Senator Warren. Thank you, Maria.
Okay.
With the save. They've never held a job, period, in their life. They graduated from college and went straight into politics, either as an intern or what have you, and then they started running for office. And these people are so far removed. They're so detached from what is actually happening in the country. It's embarrassing, because we know that there are people outside of our country, other governments, other citizens of the world, period, that are looking at our American political infrastructure, and they're looking at it like, how has America made it so far? How have they survived to this point?
Well, I honestly believe that if you want to get into any kind of congressional or any kind of politics or anything like that, other than law, you have to have a failed business, at least one.
Yeah, I mean,
Because a lot of people are like, Oh, why are you saying failure? Because you learn so much from failure than you do just being given everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I've failed a lot in my lifetime, and unless it's like relationship stuff, we'll just inks that. But I still learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, even that's a difference. And the only thing I can actually say on this one is martial arts. When I was doing martial arts, I learned what didn't work, and I learned what did work really, really easily because you're either getting hit in the face or you're hurting someone so bad that you're going, "Oh shit, what the fuck did I do?"
Yeah. But
That's how I learned a lot of my failures.
Yeah, we're looking at I mean, if we're not careful, and things don't turn around, in Washington. Oh, which by the way, now you have to have a vaccination passport just to enter Washington D.C.
That won't last.
Anybody else getting that whole Capital District feeling?
Well, they just, and this is another thing a lot of people are talking about now too, is the whole DOJ, the Supreme Court, anks the employee mandate.
Yeah, but they upheld it for the healthcare workers, which I think is crap.
Mm.
Because that's where a lot of the actual facts are coming out. A huge chunk, and we're talking in the 90 percentile of the people that are being treated for COVID in the hospitals now are the ones that are fully vaccinated or boosted.
Yeah, I think it was from what I found out, it was like 83%.
Like nurses, I know nurses. There are nurses in my family now, and in the family I'm marrying into that are saying that the sick people are the ones that have been vaccinated.
Yeah.
And with these double vaxxed and boosters and everything, I mean, it's just making people super spreaders, and it's weakening their natural immune systems. And with the government pushing for these immunizations and everything like that, we've closed the window on herd immunity. We really have.
Not technically. Well,
It's going to. I mean, these boosters and these immunizations are going to have to cease to be available in order for us to get to a place in our lives where, yeah, you're going to get sick with it, but it's just going to be like the common cold or the flu at this point. I mean, it's very survivable, but people have just shut themselves off, and they're quarantining and. I'm not saying go out and be like a biological hazard or anything like that. I mean, we still need to practice common sense. I mean, at least have the common sense that God gave a block of wet concrete, because it's smart enough to dry.
There's two other things. Is what's happening in Italy? They have you can go to a diner and get like it's $100 meal, and you actually get COVID too. I mean, I'm not joking. It's a legitimate thing they're doing in Italy.
Wow.
And the other thing is that a lot of people aren't talking about is the riots and everything over in Europe. I mean, I was like, oh, I'll go over. I want to go to Europe. And right now, it's just.
Yeah, Maria said her youngest brother just got vaccinated. He got Omicron last week. He got the vaccine and then caught this one. So, we're gonna. I mean, we're definitely going to include your brother in our prayers, Maria, because I mean, my fiance, her aunt and uncle both have COVID now, and so it's, and they're both vaccinated. So it's not something. I mean, it's not like I think I've been exposed to it. I just haven't come down with it, and. Now, I've got a couple of different things going for me, because remember earlier on they were saying that people with O negative blood have like a natural immunity to it. Mm. Yeah, I'm O negative.
Yeah.
So,
I don't even know what I think, because I haven't even had it. And I've a legitimate, people told me, it was like, I have COVID. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm done. I mean, I take care of myself, and it could be
with the
like
over-sterilization of our environment, we're actually doing our immune systems more harm than we are good.
Yeah, I mean, I still, the only thing is I wash my hands but I'll always wash my hands. So I would
Well,
just
see, in the Army, they taught us not to piss on our hands. So, I still wash them. I'm just saying.
okay. I'm so glad they did that. Marines is totally different. But no, it's honestly, I think it's because my job as a cook.
Yeah.
Because I don't the way I like
And almost
itch or
everybody,
anything,
too,
I don't even use my hands to like itch most of the time. I usually use my elbow.
Yeah, so I mean, you said your brother's O negative. I mean, and I'm not saying that that's going to be your fail-safe to keep you from getting it. I got the Johnson & Johnson shot because I was told by a representative with the VA that I had to do it in order to keep my benefits because it was going to affect my ability to get appointments. So I basically got lied to. I went and got the shot. Knocked me on my ass, dude. Like, seriously, knocked me straight
Yeah.
on my ass.
You got the shot when I was actually when we first started doing the show, and you're like, we're gonna have to do like Skies or
Yeah, we're going to have to do Skype or something, but
yeah.
what I think that this country ultimately needs, and we can go ahead and wrap it up after this,
Yeah.
is we need a great awakening, a new great awakening in this country. People are going to have to start realizing either through, and I'm not talking about civil war.
I'm not talking Civil War
I know,
either.
I know, and I'm not talking about armed conflict, okay? Because the greatest failure of anybody who has ever been a war fighter is to have their children witness the horrors of battle on their front yard. Okay? That is the single-handed biggest failure because we've got so many oath keepers in this country. And I'm talking oath keepers, and we're talking to the people that have taken that oath of enlistment, that have written out that blank check that is cashable up into including their entire body.
Yeah.
Okay? You and I don't wear the uniform anymore. That oath is still good. I know hundreds of veterans, thousands of veterans that feel the same way. Hundreds of, I mean, and I'm sure that number jumps into the millions of people who are no longer wearing the uniform, and they don't want anything to do with the military, but you come knocking on their door trying to take away their civil liberties and their the rights that are endowed upon us by our Creator to include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they will pick up a body or a plate carrier, and they will pick up a rifle, and they will go to town.
Yeah, but we would rather.
I would rather not get that far. I would rather people wake up and see the consequences of their actions.
And a lot of people
what was
are
it,
actually seeing it now.
George H.W. said elections have consequences.
Yeah.
Okay, we're seeing that now. I mean, when Biden's got an approval rating of below 40%,
I was 36.
I think it's like 36% now. I think it got as low as 32 at one
Yeah,
point.
it's both him and her.
So people are understanding. And when people start watching the news, and we're talking mainstream media, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS.
Dude, CNN even started saying it's like nobody's watching us.
CNN got bought out.
Yeah.
So
but
somebody
I
bought
think-
them, and he's starting to go around and firing their personalities, and he's trying to create basically a new unbiased. I mean, we're talking unbiased.
Yeah.
News media or a news agency, like CNN used to be. Like remember back in the Desert Storm days,
Yeah.
everybody watched CNN. Everybody did.
Yeah. But it's getting to the point right now that people are actually getting their news from
Like
more or less
comedians. I mean, they're going to places like Comedy Central for the Daily Report.
No, they're getting it from podcasts, you idiot.
Well, no, they're getting a lot of it is from comedians too.
Yeah, Steven Crowder, Joe Rogan, and
Or the guy that hosts the Daily Show now.
no, they're not getting into there.
And I know that at least at some point, whenever Jon Stewart was hosting that
When
show,
Jon Stewart
he was
went-
the
yeah.
number one most trusted news anchor in America.
and he was freaking out about it.
Oh yeah, and that's one of the biggest reasons why he left the show.
Yeah,
But
but he still. I still like Jon Stewart.
I mean, to a degree, yes, I do.
I mean-
and when he stepped away from that show, he started going to battle for the first responders to the World Trade Center.
Yeah, 9/11 people.
That's his mission in life now. That's kind of become his passion.
Well, he has a Apple TV podcast now.
well, okay, so there you go.
But yeah,
But point is that we need a great awakening in this country, and I think ultimately, just like any kind of like substance abuse problem, it's gonna require us hitting rock bottom as a country before people wake up and realize that they have had their heads up their collective asses for the better part of 50, 60 years, voting the way that they have been, putting these people into positions of power and to become institutionalized where they are basically unseatable. You know,
Hopefully.
you know, and so we need to be able to try to start changing the lexicon and the mindset of people in this country to become not necessarily more conservative minded, because you're always going to have those hard ass, just knuckleheaded people where, you know,
There's idiots on both sides.
yeah, I mean, you know, and then you're going to have those people that support people like why am I saying Barry Sanders? Barney Sanders, whatever his name is.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. Thank you, God. Barry Sanders. I'm sorry, Barry Sanders. I'm sorry to the Detroit Lions organization, and I'm sorry to the Sanders family. I did not mean to disparage the legend of running backs.
Isn't it like the third time you've done that, though?
No, I think that was just the first one. When I said Bernie Sanders the first time, I think I got it right. But
Then it's deja
we
vu.
don't have a producer to
Legend.
fact check me.
Yeah.
So, but we need a great awakening in this country, and I think the only way to do that again is to just for us to at least get close to, if not actually hit rock bottom.
Which, honestly, I'd rather not do that.
I don't
Because the
either.
last time that happened, it was the Great Depression, and we almost went to socialism.
We did. What do you think all these public jobs were? What do you think the TVA
Well, yeah,
is?
okay,
The Tennessee Valley Authority? Pure, plain, unadulterated socialism.
Yeah.
The Social Security Act,
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's in the name, social, right? Like income tax. Income tax was, I did say Bernie the first time. Look at Maria coming in there. Thank you, ma'am.
Saving your ass.
Right? Like the income tax, federal income tax. It was instituted after World War I to help pay for the war, and it was promised to us as a country that it was a temporary fixture. And then when
Okay.
the deadline hit, Congress voted to make it a permanent thing.
Okay. Well, anyways, thank you for watching this live show.
Yeah.
I'm
live,
David
all,
Dickerman.
all one person that was watching us. I'm Johnny Skelton.
And this is What the Hell?